Commander Park Hyun was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency alarm started blaring throughout the ship. He quickly put down his cup and rushed to the bridge of the UES Dauntless. The red lights were flashing and all his crew members looked worried. "What's happening?" he asked as he sat down in his captain's chair. Communications Officer Kim Nari turned around with wide eyes. "Sir, we just picked up a distress signal. It's coming from somewhere far away, and it's being sent to everyone in this part of the galaxy." Park Hyun frowned. "Show me." The main screen lit up, and suddenly they could hear a strange voice. Sounded like wind chimes mixed with breaking glass. The voice was shaking with fear and sadness. "This is Elder Vextia, the Zealothi people," the voice said slowly. "Our world is dying. The ground is breaking apart under our feet. Poisonous gases are filling our air. Our cities are falling down. We are not strong like other species. We cannot lift heavy things or work in dangerous places. We are made of crystal, and we break easily. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we need help. Our children are scared. Our elders are dying. We have nowhere else to go." The bridge became very quiet. Park Hyun could hear his own heartbeat. Lieutenant Choi Dae was the first to speak. "That signal is going out to hundreds of different planets and space stations, but I don't think anyone is going to answer." "Why not?" Park Hyun asked. "Well, sir, most alien species think rescue missions are too dangerous and too expensive. The Galactic Federation usually takes months to decide if they want to help anyone. The Zealothi live very far away from the main shipping routes." Nari added quietly. "Also, sir, most species are afraid of us. They call us Deathworlders. They think we're too violent and dangerous to work with." Park Hyun stood up and walked to the big window that showed the stars outside. Earth was millions of miles away, but he could still remember the blue oceans. In green forests of his home planet, he thought about his own family back on Earth, and how he would feel if they were in danger and no one wanted to help them. "How long would it take us to get to their planet?" he asked. Lieutenant Choi Dae checked his computer. "About 3 days at maximum speed, sir. But we would have to use almost all our fuel." "And how long do these Zealothi people have?" Kim Nari listened to the signal again. "From what I can understand, sir, maybe a week before their planet becomes completely unsafe to live on. The earthquakes are getting stronger, and the air is getting more poisonous every day." Park Hyun was quiet for a long moment. He knew that humans were still new to space travel. They had only been flying between stars for about 10 years. Most other alien species had been doing it for thousands of years. The Galactic Federation still treated humans like dangerous children who didn't understand how things worked in space. But Park Hyun also knew something else. He knew that when people were in trouble, humans didn't ask questions first. They helped first and worried about the details later. "Sir," said Chief Engineer Bae Soo-jin from the back of the bridge. "I've been listening to their signal. I think I can figure out what kind of help they need. Sounds like they need people who can work in dangerous places, lift heavy things, and fix broken machines. That's exactly what we're good at." Park Hae-on smiled for the first time since the alarm started ringing. "You're right, Chief. Send a message to all the other human ships in this area. Tell them we're going to help these crystal people." "All of them, sir?" Kim Nari asked with surprise. "That's our entire fleet." 12 ships? "Yes, all of them. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right." Lieutenant Choi Dae looked worried. "Sir, shouldn't we ask Earth Command for permission first? This is a big decision." Park Han shook his head. "There's no time to wait for committees and meetings. While we're asking for permission, these people will die. Besides, I know what Earth Command would say. They trained us to help people who need help. They didn't train us to fill out paperwork while people suffer." Within 2 hours, every human ship in that part of the galaxy was changing course toward Zealothi Prime. The ships were not pretty or elegant like the Federation vessels. They looked more like flying weapons made of steel and ceramic armor. But they were fast, and they were strong. And most importantly, they were full of humans who were ready to risk their lives for people they had never met. As the Dauntless jumped into hyperspace, Park Han sent one message back toward Earth. "We heard someone calling for help. We're going to answer." The human ships dropped out of hyperspace like dark meteors falling from the sky. On the Federation monitoring station Harmony, Admiral Yuntamen stared at his screens with his mouth open. He had never seen ships like these before. Captain Felmar, he called to his aide. Are those really rescue ships? The tall blue-skinned? Federation officer looked at the readings and shook his head. Sir, those look more like warships than rescue vessels. Look at all that armor plating and those weapon systems. Down on the dying planet Zelothi Prime, Elder Vextai was hiding in a broken building with hundreds of his people. The crystal beings were beautiful, but fragile. They looked like living diamonds, but they could break as easily as glass. The ground kept shaking under their feet, and poisonous yellow smoke was filling the air. Elder, whispered one of the younger Zelothi, something is coming from the sky. Vextai looked up through a crack in the ceiling and saw large metal ships landing nearby. His crystal body started glowing with fear. The Federation finally sent help, he said hopefully, but when the ships opened, the beings that came out were not like any Federation species Vextai had ever seen. They were huge, almost twice as tall as a Zelothi. They walked on two legs like most intelligent species, but they moved like hunters. Their bodies were covered in thick metal suits that made them look like walking tanks. The strangest thing was their faces. When some of them took off their helmets, Vextai saw that they looked almost friendly, but their eyes were sharp and alert. Their skin was soft-looking, not like crystal or metal or scales, but somehow they seemed more dangerous than any creature Vextai had ever seen. One of the humans walked straight toward the group of scared Zelothi. His metal boots made loud sounds on the broken ground. The Zelothi children hid behind their parents. Even the adults stepped back in fear. The human stopped a few feet away and did something unexpected. He knelt down on one knee so he would not look so tall and scary. Then he took off his helmet. Completely. Elder Vextai, the human said in a deep voice. My name is Captain Lee Minho. We got your message. We're here to help you. Vextai's crystal body was shaking. You, ... You actually came. But we heard stories about your species. They say you come from a death world. They say you are warriors and killers. Captain Lee nodded seriously. That's true. Earth is a very dangerous planet. We are fighters. We have to be strong to survive on our world. This made the Zelothi even more scared. Some of them started to back away, but then Captain Lee smiled, and his whole face changed. But that's exactly why you're going to be safe now. We know how to survive in dangerous places. We know how to protect people. We never leave anyone. Behind Captain Lee, more humans were coming out of their ships. They moved with perfect teamwork like they had practiced this many times before. Some of them were carrying heavy boxes of medical supplies. Others had tools and machines that could move huge pieces of broken buildings. Vextai watched in amazement as a human woman picked up a piece of concrete that would have taken 10 Zelothi working together to move. She lifted it with just her hands and threw it aside like it was a small rock. How is she so strong? Whispered one of the Zelothi children. Another human was setting up some kind of medical tent. The air around him was full of radiation that would kill most Federation species in minutes. But the human didn't even seem to notice. He was humming a little song while he worked. Up on the monitoring station, Admiral Yuntamen was getting reports from all over the planet. Sir, said Captain Felmar, the humans are not following any of our first contact protocols. They didn't ask for permission to land. They didn't register with our diplomatic services. They just started working. What are they doing exactly? Admiral Yun asked. Everything, sir. They're rescuing people from collapsed buildings. They're setting up medical stations in areas too dangerous for our people to enter. They're purifying poisoned water with machines I've never seen before. And sir, they're doing it all in conditions that would kill most of our rescue teams. Back on the planet, Elder Vextai was watching a human medic treat injured Zelothi. The human's hands were gentle and careful, even though those same hands looked strong enough to crush crystal. Why are you helping us? Vextai asked Captain Lee. Your Federation friends up there seem angry that you came here. Captain Lee looked up at the sky where the Federation station was orbiting. The Federation has rules and committees and meetings. That's fine for them. But while they're having meetings, people die. We don't work that way. Then how do you work, Captain? Lee looked around at his people, who were already saving lives and fixing problems. Simple. Someone needs help. We help them. Someone is in danger. We protect them. That's what humans do. For the first time in days, Elder Vexti felt hope growing in his crystal heart. Dr. Song. Ji-woo wiped the sweat from her forehead as she finished bandaging another injured Zealoty. The medical tent around her was filled with thick, poisonous smoke that would have killed most alien doctors in seconds. But Song Ji-woo just put on her breathing mask and kept working. "Doctor," said her assistant. "Medic Park Jinwoo, we've been working in this toxic air for 6 hours straight." "Don't. You think we should take a break?" Song Ji-woo looked at the line of injured crystal beings waiting for help. "Not while people are still hurt," she said simply, a few feet away. Two Zealoty scientists named Kolveth and Mordai were watching the human medical team with complete amazement. "This is impossible," whispered Kolveth. "The radiation levels in this area are strong enough to dissolve our crystal bodies. How are these humans still alive?" Mordai pointed at Dr. Song Ji-woo, who was working directly under a broken pipe that was leaking glowing green chemicals. "Look at her. She's not even wearing a full protection suit. It's just a simple mask over her mouth." "Their bodies must be incredibly strong," Kolveth said in wonder. Outside the medical tent, even more amazing things were happening. Kacha Jang Woo-jin was climbing up the side of a collapsing building. The structure was shaking and falling apart, with electrical wires sparking and shooting dangerous bolts of energy everywhere. A group of Zealoty children were trapped on the top floor. Their crystal bodies were too fragile to survive the climb down. The building was too unstable for normal rescue equipment. Sergeant Jang called Captain Lee through the radio that building could fall down any second. "Maybe we should wait." For better equipment, Jang Woo-jin grabbed an electrical cable with his bare hands. The electricity shot through his body, but his thick gloves and training allowed him to hold on. "No time to wait, sir. I can hear the children crying." The Zealoty watching from below could not believe what they were seeing. The human was climbing straight up the outside of the building, using broken pieces of wall and sparking electrical wires like a ladder. Every few seconds, the building would shake and pieces would fall down. But Jang Woo-jin just kept climbing. When he reached the top floor, he found 3 small Zealoty children huddled together in fear. Their crystal bodies were cracked and dim from terror. "Hey there," Jang Woo-jin said softly, kneeling down to their level. "I'm here to take you home to your families." The children looked at this giant human in his metal suit. He was scary looking, but his voice was kind. "Are you going to hurt us?" asked the smallest child. Jang Woo-jin smiled and carefully picked up all 3 children, holding them against his chest where his armor was thickest. "I'm going to keep you safe," he promised. The climb down was even more dangerous than the climb up. The building was shaking harder, and more electrical wires were breaking loose. But Jang Woo-jin used his own body as a shield, letting the sparks hit his armor instead of the children. When he finally reached the ground, a crowd of Zealoty that had gathered started making a sound like wind chimes singing. It was their way of cheering. Meanwhile, Engineering Chief Bae Soo-jin was solving a different kind of problem. The main water treatment plant for the city had been destroyed in the earthquakes. Without clean water, the remaining Zealoty would die of thirst in just a few days. "Chief," said Engineer Kim Dong-ho, "we don't have the right parts to fix their water system. Our human technology is completely different from their crystal-based machines." Bae Soo-jin looked at the pile of broken Zealoty equipment, then at the supplies from the human ships. "Then we'll make it work anyway." What she did next would have been impossible for most Federation engineers. She took apart 3 different human food processors, combined them with parts from a broken Zealoty crystal matrix, and somehow created a new type of water purifier. A Federation engineer who was watching through binoculars from a safe distance called his commander. "Sir, what the human is doing should not work. Those technologies are completely incompatible." "But is it working?" asked the commander. The Federation engineer watched as clean, pure water started flowing from Bae Soo-jin's impossible machine. "Yes, sir. Somehow it's working perfectly." As the day went on, more and more Zealothi started using a new word to describe the humans. They called them Morthok Genthi, which meant gentle giants in their crystal language. The humans were huge and strong and came from a world so dangerous that it would kill most aliens instantly. But they used all that strength and toughness to protect people, were smaller and weaker than themselves. Elder Vextai watched a human soldier named Corporal Yu Minyang use her own body to shield a group of elderly Zealothi from falling rocks. The rocks bounced off her armor, and she didn't even seem to notice. "They are not what I expected," Vextai said to his assistant. "What do you mean, Elder?" Vextai watched as the human soldiers worked alongside the doctors and engineers, all of them focused on saving as many lives as possible. "I thought beings from a death world would be cruel and violent, but they are the kindest people I have ever met." Captain Lee Minho was helping to move injured Zealothi to the medical ships when a bright blue light appeared in front of him. The light formed into the shape of a tall, important-looking alien with purple skin and golden robes. "Human Commander," the alien said in a cold voice. "I am Federation Council Representative Vexiamar. You will stop these operations immediately." Lee looked up from the crystal child he was carrying. The little Zealothi was badly hurt and needed medical attention right away. "Sorry, Representative, but I'm a little busy right now." "You do not understand," Deximar continued, his hologram flickering with anger. "The Galactic Federation has rules about rescue operations. Cannot just land on a planet and start helping people without proper paperwork." Sergeant O'Hygen, who was lifting a fallen beam that was trapping to Zealothi adults, called out without stopping her work. "What kind of paperwork do dying people need to fill out?" "There are procedures," Dexiamar insisted. "First, the planet must request help through official channels. Then, there must be a committee meeting to discuss the request. Then, we must vote on whether to provide aid. Then, we must decide what kind of aid to provide. Then we must choose which species will provide that aid. The process usually takes about 6 weeks." Captain Lee gently handed the injured Zealothi child to Dr. Song Ji-woo, who was waiting by the medical shuttle. Then he turned to face the Federation representative. "Representative." Dexiamar Lee said politely, "These people will be dead in 6 hours. Your process takes 6 weeks. Do you see the problem?" "The law is the law," Dexiamar replied. "You cannot ignore galactic regulations just because you think you know better." Behind Lee, Engineering Chief Bei Sujin was teaching a group of young Zealothi how to operate the water purification system she had built. She looked up at the hologram and shook her head. "We're not ignoring your laws," she said. "We just don't think your laws are more important than people's lives." Dexiamar's purple face turned darker with anger. "You will cease these unauthorized activities or the Federation will be forced to stop you." Captain Lee was quiet for a moment, then he smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "You're welcome to try." Within an hour, Federation ships appeared in the sky above Zealothi Prime. They formed a blockade around the planet, trying to stop the human rescue shuttles from moving back and forth between the surface and the human fleet. "Human vessels," announced a Federation captain over the radio. "You are ordered to return to your ships and leave this system immediately." Communications Officer Kim Nari, who was coordinating the rescue flights from the surface, responded calmly. "Federation ships, we have injured people who need medical attention. We will not stop our rescue operations." "Then we will stop them for you," the Federation captain replied. What happened next became legendary throughout the galaxy. The Federation had expected the humans to either give up or start a fight. They did not expect what actually happened. Human pilots, who had learned to fly in the dangerous skies of Earth, began demonstrating why Deathworlders made the best pilots in the galaxy. They flew their rescue shuttles through gaps between Federation ships that were so small most alien pilots would never even attempt them. Lieutenant Commander Han So-young, piloting a shuttle full of rescued Zealothi, flew her ship upside down and backwards through a space that was only 3 meters wider than her shuttle. She made it look easy. "How are they doing that?" asked a confused Federation pilot. "They're crazy," replied another. "All Deathworlders are crazy, but it wasn't craziness. It was skill born from growing up on a planet where everything was trying to kill you. Earth pilots learned to fly through hurricanes, asteroid fields, and electromagnetic storms. Through a Federation blockade was just another Tuesday for them. On the surface, the human rescue teams completely ignored the Federation's demands. When Federation officials tried to land on the planet to stop the rescue operations in person, they found that the toxic atmosphere was too dangerous for them to even leave their ships. Sergeant Zhang Wujin was still pulling people from collapsed buildings, looked up at the Federation ships, and laughed. They want to stop us, but they can't even breathe the air down here. Representative Dexiamar appeared as a hologram again, this time looking very frustrated. Human Commander, you are making the Federation look foolish. This is not how civilized species behave. Captain Lee, who was now covered in dust and radiation burns from working in the disaster zone, looked at the clean, safe hologram. Representative, with respect, I don't care how we make you look. I care about saving lives, but the rule's your rules, interrupted Dr. Song Ji-woo, as she carried another injured Zealothy to safety. It seemed designed to help bureaucrats feel important, not to help people who are dying. As the day continued, more and more Federation officials tried to interfere with the human rescue efforts. But every time they tried, the humans found a way around them. When Federation ships blocked one route, human pilots found another. When Federation officials demanded meetings, human commanders politely told them to wait until after the rescue was finished. The galaxy was learning an important lesson. When Deathworlders decided to help someone, nothing could stop them. 3 months later, Commander Park Hyun stood on the observation deck of the UES Dauntless, watching the last transport ship leave the orbit of New Zealothi colony. The new planet was green and beautiful, with crystal cities that sparkled in the sunlight. It was hard to believe that just a few months ago, the Zealothi people had been dying on their broken homeworld. Commander, said Lieutenant Choi Dae, walking up behind him. Elder Vextai is here to see you. He says it's very important. Park Hyun turned around to see the crystal leader approaching with careful, respectful steps. In his hands he carried something that looked like a piece of art made from the finest crystal in the galaxy. Commander Park, Vextai said, his voice ringing like beautiful music. My people have created something we hope you will consider. He held out the crystal object, and Park Hyun could see that words were carved into it in both Zealothi script and Korean letters. At the top, in elegant writing, were the words, "The Deathworlder Covenant." What is this, Elder? Park Hyun asked, taking the crystal document carefully. It is a promise, Vexti explained. A mutual protection agreement for species who believe that helping others is more important than politics or profit. We want to be the first to sign it. Park Hyun read the document slowly. It was simple but powerful. Any species that signed. The covenant would promise to help other member species in times of crisis, no matter what the Federation or other governments said. They would share technology, provide aid during disasters, and protect each other from those who would hurt them. This is revolutionary, Elder, Park Hyun said quietly. Communications Officer Kim Nari suddenly looked up from her station with wide eyes. Sir, we're receiving messages from all over the galaxy. 47 different species are asking about this covenant. They all want to know how to join. Lieutenant Choi Dae pulled up the communications array on the main screen. Hey, sir, look at this list. Most of these are smaller species that the Federation usually ignores, but there are some big ones too. The Corvin Defense Fleet wants to join. So do the Mineral Worlds Alliance and the Free Trader Coalition. Park Hyun looked at the list scrolling down the screen. These were species that had been pushed around by the Federation for years, were tired of committees and bureaucrats, and politicians who cared more about rules than about people. Commander, said Elder Vexti, there is something else. The Federation Council has officially invited humanity to join them as a full member species. They are offering you a seat on the High Council and full access to all Federation technology. Hyun was quiet for a long moment. Joining the Federation would mean incredible benefits for humanity. Advanced technology, trade agreements, protection under galactic law. It was everything Earth had dreamed of when they first reached for the stars. But it would also mean following Federation rules. It would mean asking permission before helping people. It would mean committees and meetings and paperwork while people died. What did you tell them, Elder? Vexti's crystal body glowed with what Parkion had learned was the Zealothy equivalent of a smile. We told them that humans do not ask for permission to do what is right. Captain Lee Minho entered the bridge at that moment, still wearing his work clothes from helping to build the new Zealothy cities. Commander, I just got word from the fleet. Every human ship captain wants to sign this covenant. We're all in. Parkion looked around at his crew, then at Elder Vexti, then at the list of species waiting for humanity's answer. He thought about the Federation with their comfortable rules and safe procedures. Then he thought about the Zealothy children, who were alive today because humans had decided to help first and worry about permission later. Kimnari, he said finally, send a message to all the species requesting information about the Covenant. Tell them we're holding a meeting next week on Neutral Station 7. Anyone who wants to join us is welcome. What about the Federation offer, sir? Asked Lieutenant Choi Day. Park Hyun smiled and picked up the crystal document that would change the galaxy forever. Send them a polite reply. Tell them that humanity appreciates the offer, but we're busy building something better. As the human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Captain Lee Minho sent one final message to Federation headquarters, to the Federation Council. This is Captain Lee Minho of the human fleet. We want you to know that we're not asking for your permission anymore. When people need help, we will help them. When the weak need protection, we will protect them. When the galaxy needs heroes, we will be there. Try to keep up. 6 months later, the Deathworlder Covenant had grown to include over 200 species. They had their own rescue fleets, their own medical corps, and their own engineers who could solve problems Federation said were impossible. The Federation still had their committees and their meetings and their rules. But when disasters struck, when people were in danger, when the galaxy needed real help, everyone knew who to call. They called the humans and their friends. They called the species who had learned that sometimes the most important law was the law of helping others. The age of bureaucracy was ending. The age of humanity had begun.